I think a lot of us relate to creativity as maybe being a nice to have.
Mhm.
I'll be creative once I get everything done. Um, we might think of it as a frivolous hobby, um, or something that's not exactly integrated into the rest of our life. So, can you talk more about um, why creativity matters?
Yeah. So again, one way that anthropologists look at human beings is that we are bipeds that make things, meaning we walk on two legs, and more than any other creature, we make all kinds of different things. We make meals, we invent things, um, we throw parties, we can envision some version of ourselves, remember some version of ourselves in the past and envision some version of ourselves in the future. And so, again, all of us are inherently creators, meaning that we have these capabilities that allow us to change our environment, which is and change it profoundly in the case of buildings and cities and all of those sorts of things. But just and the reality is that most people actually don't identify as creative because they put themselves in the bucket that's creative because it's artistic or performative or eccentric, but that and so they sort of people tend to say that person's creative and I'm not. And studies have shown that over half the people in the world, in the United States, actually don't see themselves as creative, and it's like only about a quarter of people worldwide see themselves as creative. They don't take that aspect of themselves seriously, and so um, based on that belief structure, it really limits you in a lot of different ways. Because if you're seeing creativity is being expressed in other people but not yourself, you might not even engage it just because you have this belief in your mind that you are not creative. And so
Yeah.
one of the reasons and the ideas is like, again, why does creativity have so much universal appeal? Because we as humans, all of us have the capacity to create. And that was sort of and so just getting into that understanding was really important. However, when I first started going out to try to teach people about creativity, because less than half the people in the room statistically didn't even identify as creative. If I started talking about creative, people would sort of check out, the ones that didn't see themselves as creative. And so at that point I had to say, well, what are the needs that are being satisfied through the creative process? And again, I'm not talking about an artistic process, but really a creative approach to life. And what arose was is that there are basically three elements, core elements, what I call the core human needs that are arising out of our innate ability to create. And the first one is connection. Like, all of us have a need for connection. And connection in the language of creativity is insight. These are those aha moments, right? So again, we need connections with ourselves, with others, with our loved ones, with communities, with the earth. Those are ways of looking at the connections that we're wanting to build. But insights are this form of connection, those aha moments where it feels like the universe is handing us something. That's the kind of beauty of insights in general, is that they come to you. It's like they're like these mystical experiences by which all of a sudden you have some understanding that wasn't there the moment before, right? So going to the other side, which is this sort of passive side of experiencing an insight. On the other side is what we need is basically this desire to contribute, and that's a core human need there as well. All of us want to make a difference. We all want to make the world a better place in some way, shape, or form. And again, what that better place looks like is different by each individual, but all of us have a deep yearning to, again, bring things into the world for the betterment of ourselves and the people that we love, our communities, and those sorts of things. So that's the desire to contribute. In creativity, that's called manifestation. That's basically bringing either our own insights or another person's insights into the world. Meaning, when you get an insight, typically it's a feeling more than anything. It's an experience, but the translation of that insight into form takes work. And so that's what manifestation offers, is that that quality of doing what needs to be done in order so that can be shared in a way that other people can grasp. And then the third core human need is the need for meaning. The need for meaning. And there's really two types of meaning. One's a conceptual meaning, which is basically having a sense of maybe what your vision or your mission is for your life, where you have some sense of the narrative that you're utilizing in order to maneuver the world. And so, for example, in the case of two Buddhist practitioners working here, those cosmologies and the frameworks that are provided by these wisdom traditions are ways in which we've learned to live. But there's another type of meaning, which I would call the non-conceptual meaning, which are basically those experiences that are so engaging and so immersive that they are beyond thought, right? For example, one of the things that drew me in really early in life was rock climbing, because by moving over these formations and seeing the beauty of nature, of it being intimately connected with them and touching it and moving up these faces, it was an immersive experience that was deeply meaningful to me just because it engaged me so much. And so the language, what is meaningful in creativity, like kind of the highest expression of creativity, is what we might call self-expression. And really, I like to think of it with the self with a capital S, meaning it's the big knowingness that's connected to the universe being channeled through our finite movements and decisions and all the things that we do. So, for example, if you're watching the sports highlights, the reason that those go up there is because we get to see people self-expressing in flow states, doing things that seem to defy what would normally a normal person would be able to do, or a team would be able to do. And so, again, the core human needs of connection, contribution, and meaning go along with the creative needs of insight, manifestation, and self-expression.